This amp has ignited the love for the AC30 all over again for me. It's a spectacular sounding specimen of a 1965 grey panel top boost which will blow your mind. Hey everyone, this is Kārlis from Amalgam Audio, and today we have something really special for you, a 1965 VOX AC30 grey panel model, which is a rare trapeze shape version, and this is like a new rekindled love of mine. The VOX AC30 is one of our customers' favorite amps. We already know the copper panel version, which is like a more open sounding and more airy sound. And this grey panel just knocked me out. It's a killer sounding amp for some rock tones. It has a lot more punch and a lot more smoothness to the overdrive compared to the copper panel, and it's just a fantastic match for some beautiful rock tones. So the AC30 models varied a bit throughout the years. They differed in regard to the transformers that were used quite a bit actually. There's some models that had the Albion transformers. That is also what my other copper panel AC30 has. There's some that have Woden transformers, and that's what's inside this one. In 1965, they had a slightly different version of the Woden transformers, which were slightly simplified, and that also resulted in a different sound. And I'm not entirely sure if this is the main difference or the reason why this amp sounds so different than my other AC30, but it indeed is a very different sound. And previously, actually, I owned two versions of the copper panel in-panel top boost models, and those sounded pretty much identical. Both of them had Albion transformers, and schematically speaking, this amp is basically identical to the copper panel versions, but probably due to some component drift over the years and some differences in the transformers, this adds up to a completely different tonal spectrum of the response. So in regard to the layout, it's the typical AC30 top boost EQ stack. It has the treble and bass on the brilliant channel. It has just the volume on the normal channel, and it has a global cut control that adjusts some of the higher frequencies. I got this amp shipped to me, and it probably had a really bad fall at some point. You know, there is this myth that is perpetuated over the internet that the old AC30s are unreliable and you know, that they're hard to deal with. But actually my experience is that they're quite hard to destroy, and this amp is another testament to that. So it had a really bad fall. What actually happened is the drawer on which the whole components are installed in this amp, it basically broke and got stuck inside the amp. As I saw that, I thought it's not ever gonna work right out of the box, so I assumed I have to get it to the tech. But I turned it on, it works flawlessly. Not even a tube was shattered, so that's pretty amazing, and you know, it was just phenomenal tone out of the box. There's been countless users of the AC30 over the years. Of course, famously, Beatles are associated with those amps, although they actually played more AC50s and AC100s. Also, Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin had an era where he used AC30s, and it indeed is a fantastic rock amp, and this specific specimen is ideal for that kind of thing. So some of the beautiful tones that you get out of this amp live in the normal channel, and the normal channel is like as simple as it could ever be. It only has a volume control, and of course still you have the cut control, but you don't really need it for this channel because it is not too heavy on the top end, but it gives this full, beautiful, clean sound and edge of breakup stuff, and it also sounds phenomenal with some pedals in front. So as you know, Brian May from the Queen has used this amp, and he used a treble booster for the normal channel, and that gives it the extra top end that it might be missing, and you have some massive tones with this normal channel. On the top boost channel, they actually, in this year, they already had fixed an issue with the EQ. In the previous models, they had it kind of working in reverse, so if you would dial the treble up, it would actually reduce the treble, and the same goes for the bass. So both EQ knobs were basically reversed. 1965, they had already fixed this. So this means that if you ever see the documentation on the captures we've done of this amp, don't be surprised that the settings look totally different, because the tone stack works in this model as it should and as it is intended. So some of the best tones one could get from this amp on the top boost channel are when you dial the bass on the lower side, something about 2 or 2.5, and the treble would work really well from 0 up to 3. That's where the sound isn't too shrill or too top-end heavy, and you can get some nice balanced tones out of it. As typical with AC30 amps, when you dial it up to about 5 on your volume on the top boost channel, you get a beautiful compression going on. So from that point, the amp is not going to start to sound louder when you increase the volume. The only thing that changes is you get more drive and a bit more compression, and it's a very spongy, nice feel for you know, some rock riffs. This amp gives you a lot of touch response, and you can play very well together with your volume knob on the guitar, and will respond accordingly. So you can clean up perfectly and easily get to very overdriven sounds. So yeah, one great sound that could be dialed in with this amp is to set it up for about 7 on the volume on the brilliant channel, to set the treble to about 3 and the bass to 2. And that is where you get a really beautiful sound for a humbucker equipped guitar. That's going to be a crunchy, sustainy, smooth sounding overdrive that is just phenomenal for some rock stuff. And that's something that we'll dial in, and I'll play a couple of chords and show you how that sounds. I'm not a big fan of the cut control, especially if it's overdone. When I use it, I don't go much above 8. That's where it actually starts kind of to work. Before that, it's basically you know, just moving around but not doing much tonally. But anything above that, it's you know, I don't like the effect of it. But on this particular specimen, the response of the cut control is somewhat smoother than usual. And that is great because this amp in itself is actually quite a bit brighter than my other AC30, which is a copper panel. And that works really well together with taming this brightness of this particular amp. People often forget about the vibrato channel or tremolo channel on the AC30. On this one, it sounds quite spectacular, and the effect itself, the vibrato, is just beautiful. Have a listen at this. So yeah, the amp had a really bad trip, and this drawer that keeps the whole electronics intact and on which everything is mounted is smashed. It's broken in a couple of places, and it kind of got stuck in the head inside. I can't really get it out anymore, so we'll have to figure it out. But the thing is, despite it obviously surviving a really bad fall. Everything works flawlessly, and the VOX amps were built with really good components. So what you see here are some German-made Vima Tropifoil caps and some Philips mustard caps, for example. And those are really good pots that work well for a lot of decades, actually. They become leaky very seldom, so it's really reliable stuff that they've used. Not much has been changed in the amp. It's just a couple of resistors and some electrolytic caps. That's the usual maintenance thing that you would replace after so many years of duty. And yeah, the amp is really well built. I don't see a realistic reason why people would complain about old AC30s being unreliable or having any fundamental issues. I told a story about my copper panel AC30, which I accidentally ran for a couple of hours without any load attached, and it survived that without a hiccup, which is amazing. It shouldn't have done that. I don't know how it survived, but yeah, in my own experience, I can only say that the old AC30 amps, the JMI era amps, are just, phenomenal. There's nothing bad I can say about them. To that effect, there's also some stories from some studio guys who have left the amps on in their studio, went for a vacation for a couple of weeks, came back to the studio, saw that the amp is cooking still. It's working, it has warmed up the whole room with the heat coming from it, and it still works as on day one. So there's also those kind of stories about AC30s. Yeah. Okay, that's it for our today's Storytime episode on the VOX AC30 gray panel trapeze model. Fabian will play us out with some beautiful playing with the captures we made of this amp. Hope to see you again in our next Storytime episode. See you around. Bye.